I'm Sofi and I'm currently at Kachara Forest Retreat, Bentong, Malaysia. And today I'll be sharing on what is stealing. The dictionary defines it as taking another person's property without permission or legal right and without the intent of returning it. That is easy to understand enough. Don't take what is not yours and what is not given to you. That's easy to understand. That's in the eyes of the law. If you steal, you get punished, depending on the severity of your crime. Could be simple stealing from your neighbors, or could be stealing an item off the shelf in the shop, or in the worst scenario is to steal or to rob, with the threat of harm or even killing someone to achieve your objective. So in Buddhism, do not steal is another of our basic vows that we undertake to eliminate the negative trait of taking things that does not belong to us. The karma of stealing is to take rebirth in the lower realms, the hell, the hungry ghost, or the animal realm. If you are fortunate to be reborn in the human realm, you experience poverty, be unsuccessful. No matter how much effort you put in, you'll be unsuccessful. And then having things taken away from you, maybe just like a recognition of work. Maybe you've done a lot of hard work and the people will recognize it as somebody else's work. So just as you have caused others by what they have gone through or their experience from your stealing, so you will also get the repercussion of that. So it is what you've done that you will experience in the future. If not this life, maybe the next. Karma is the resultant sufferings, depending on how much the sufferings that you have caused others. And example, let's say, and also the severity of it, see? So the example will be, let's say if you were to steal $1 from a very rich man, as compared to maybe you steal $1, from the beggar off the street. It's going to affect the beggar so much more because it, something that he may need the money to eat, whereas for the rich man, it's like pocket change to him. So it's the severity of it also depends, how heavy your karma will be. Right? So how many of us can safely say that we have not stolen? I certainly can't. There are so many levels to stealing, it's like just something outright, as you say, you take the money from somewhere or you steal something, that is just outright stealing. That one I think everyone knows. But then there is also like the stealing of maybe materials. An example would be, let's say if you're in the office, a phone call comes in for you, your personal call, and that the person on the phone, is saying some things that you need to take note of. So you just use a piece of paper and you write something on, write the information on the paper. Then you just fold it, put it into your handbag or maybe in your pocket to be used later. Well, for your information, that piece of paper does not belong to you and you're using it for your personal use. So that is a form of stealing as well. And maybe, let's say if you are somewhere at the counter, and you happen to need a pen to write something. So after writing, usually some people, they just unconsciously, automatically maybe put it into their shirt pocket, or maybe they clip it on, on their shirt or something like that, and you walk away, nobody noticed, and you didn't even notice as well. So maybe you reach home and you say, oh, this pen does not belong to me. But the thing is, for the pen itself, it's not expensive, it's something very cheap, and you think that, it's so trivial, it's not expensive, it doesn't really matter. So, but the thing is, it's still stealing. And then there's also, this is something, that a lot of us does it, and it's not very conscious about it, and it's something also very precious to humans, and that is stealing of time. It's like how often, we have a problem, you go and see someone, and then we'll spend the time, that person will take the trouble to spend the time talking to us, and giving us advice, listening to us, and thinking of ways to help us. Well, you're actually taking the time away from that person. She or he could have done something much more, maybe something beneficial, like for charity, where could help so many more people. That is really like, or maybe she could spend time with her family, to develop a better relationship or something. So it's actually, you're taking time away from that person, and this is not something that we've really given much thought to. And but the thing is, if you are going to do that, because all of us have problems and we do need help. So the basic thing is, if you do, if you're taking that time from that person, just make an effort, to use the advice that they give you. Usually, I mean, if you are to go to that person, that means there must be some form of trust that that person may be able to help you. So it'll be good, if you were to put some effort in, carrying out their advice, so that you do not have that same problem again, and that you don't have to go to someone else or go back to that person, with the same problem. So if you're stealing, at least put it into good use. And then there's another example. Maybe you're bored, so you call up your friend. I have a friend, happen to be free, so okay, let's go for a movie. And after the movie, then you still have a lot of time on your hand, and you say, okay, let's go for food, or maybe go to Starbucks, have a drink, have a chat, whatever. But the thing is, your friend may not be free, and if she'll tell you, I have some plans that I have to leave, and then you just make an effort, and you cajole her, say, oh no, please stay, I'm going to be so bored and all that. So maybe out of her kindness, she push her plans away, and she stays with you to keep you company. And that is stealing her time, because she could have, she had plans already to do something. So instead of doing that, she's actually wasting time to spend with you, and at the same time she will need to plan again, to what she has to do. So that's extra time taken as well. So in that sense, that is like, stealing her time. And then it costs her a lot of inconvenience, because she has to find the extra time to do what she needs to do. And so this one is a very heavy one. Our guru, a lot of times, our guru will give us teachings, will give us advice and guidance, spend some time with us, so that we will change for the better, so that we will, be more spiritually inclined to practice and to gain, more realizations. And it is precious time, so that the time spent with us, he could have been spent with other people, or thinking of ways to benefit other people. So this is like, to me, it's very heavy, repercussion actually, if we were to take his time and not to apply it. So just realize, that his time here is very precious, and then whatever time he spent on us, we should really make an effort to put it into practice. Because all he wants for us is to be better, to be happier. So these are some of the ways, that we could be stealing. But there, I think out there, there are a lot more which we need to explore and be mindful about. That is why in Buddhism we always practice mindfulness, so that because so many things are full of just little tiny nuances that we do not know, and I'm still learning a lot. So the solution to stealing, according to Buddhism, is actually the practice of generosity. So this is to counter, because in stealing, we're actually we're acting out to fulfill our selfish wants and selfishness. So in practicing of generosity, we focus out to help others and to focus out to the needs of others. So it directly counters, the need to steal. An example, if it's the stealing of time, so instead of wanting the attention for yourself, then you focus more, in giving your attention to others and seeing what they need, how you can help them. This is like to counter, the stealing itself. Let's say if you feel the need to maybe like steal something, then instead of focusing on that, you spend your time, or maybe if you have the means, to give out, to help others. Let's say if you do not have money, maybe you have extra things in your house that you do not need, you can just donate it, be generous, help others. So in that way it really counters stealing. And at the same time, for generosity, you get a good rebirth, where you never be of wants, you always have things that you need. So that will be a good motivation as well. So as such, I will end the session today, and if there's any question, I will take it now. Right, from Valentina. How can we purify the negative karma of stealing? This in Buddhism, in our Tibetan Buddhism, we have a lot of ways to purify, because Buddha has been very compassionate. So whatever we do, there's always ways to purify. But the thing is, don't let it be an incentive for you to do wrong things. So we can always like do our Raja Sattva purification. We can do prostration. There's the 35 confessional Buddhas that we can do, and there's a few more other items that we can do. I mean, few more methods that we can, like the prayers and all that. I will list them down and put them into the comment section for you. Okay, for Pastor Adeline, the extra time taken with others' concern cannot be a form of stealing, because according to your definition, stealing is to take something from others without their concerns. Time is very precious because it cannot be given back. Whatever time is given to us can never be given back to the giver. That is very true. To me, it's I consider it stealing, because although that person has given, given the consent to actually spend the time for you, but they give it in good, how do you mean, out of their kindness. So they're giving you advice or whatever that they're helping you with, they're giving that to you. And from your side, if you do not take it, I feel that it's not a fulfillment of something that you were looking for. I mean, in the first place, because you are looking for a solution to solve something, and if you do not take it, then why waste the time of that person? So for me, that would be, it's not a direct stealing, but in a way it's taking away the time from that person, Sorry, I didn't see the second part of the question. When we promise others to be back at a certain time and we do not make it, we do not meet it, although we inform the person before the time is due, is it considered a form of stealing? If so, how and why? This one I did not think about, but I would say that yes, it is, because, excuse me, based on the time that you said that you'll be back, probably there's arrangement, from that time onwards. So in delaying it, you're actually, taking that time away, like let's say that person is ready to meet you at 9 o'clock, and then if you were to delay it, so that person has to sit there and wait for you, or something like that, or maybe take a time away from something else so that you can delay meeting that person. So I would say that it is a form of stealing as well, stealing of time as well. From Yi Yin Teo, does it mean if people spend time to give us advice and we don't take it to heart, it is considered as stealing? However, if we take their advice, it will not be considered as stealing. It's not a very clear-cut point of stealing, but the thing is, because they give you that time, and if you do actually take it to heart and to put it into effect, then it's a time well worth spending with you. So I would say that it's not stealing then, because it will be something positive. That person has actually did an act of kindness to help you, and you were actually doing it, to repay the kindness. So for me, that will not be stealing. Again, that's for me, okay? So, but the thing is, if because all the questions, I would actually look it up, and then I will reply it with much more clarity, and that's correct. So I will answer it at a later time as well. Okay, from Joy. How could you give back if you have taken stolen time from others? How do you repay them for the time one take away from another? There's no way that actually you can repay for the time taken, because it's gone. The minute you do something, it's gone, So the only way that you can repay is that to be generous towards others, or maybe towards that person too. So maybe in the future that person needs that time or needs your help, then you do so and repay it in that way. Or if that person doesn't, then think of other people, do it in kind. Nowadays a lot of people do that, like pay forward, they say. So what you have received from that person, pay it to someone else that needs it. Okay, this is from Pastor Shin. Is there a difference between taking a piece of paper, my example, at the office unintentionally in a hurry, or because the person is unaware, and someone who purposely stole a piece of paper from the office? Of course, as I said, there's a severity in the act itself. Since you're doing it unconsciously, it won't be as severe. But if you were taking it on purpose, there's an intention, and that will be much, much worse. And from Valentina. So if the advice is bad and we choose not to follow the advice, then we are stealing from the person giving an advice, because they have to spend the time with us. This is not very clear cut, as I mentioned. Yeah, sometimes that maybe that person would may not have the advice for you that you feel is suitable, but they have actually given you advice. So with due consideration, I think that in the first place you went to that person because you trust that person to have the advice that you may be looking for, and that person may have been someone that's known to you, who knows you, and as such, even though if you do not follow, I think that you should give it good consideration, because sometimes in our delusion, we think that we're actually just looking for advice to satisfy our own, something that suits ourselves. So I don't see any new questions. And okay, so I'll end it here, and if there's any questions, I'll answer it at a later date. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll end it with a completion dedication in Tibetan. Giang Dục Sen Cho Rinpoche, Ma Ke Pa Nam Ke Shi, Ke Pa Nam Pa Me Pa Yang, Go Ne Gon Du Pe Wa Shu, To Ni To Wa Rinpoche, Ma Ke Pa Nam Ke Shi, Ke Pa Nam Pa Me Pa Yang, Go Ne Gon Du Pe Wa Shu, Da So Ji Ni Sa Pa Ge Wa Di, Dan Dan Tru Wa Gun Na Gam Pa Da, Ke Pa Je Sun Lo San Tra Pa Yi, Tam Ping Yin Po Rin Du Sa Se Shu, Ke Wa Kun Tu Yan Da La Ma Dan, Ra Mi Tum Pi Pa La Lo Chong Ching, Sa Dam Lang Yi Yak Te La So Ni, Lo Ye Chang Yi Nga Pa Ngo Tu So, Ke Wa Di Yu Du Da, La Ma Sang Ye Dru Yo Ni, Dru Wa Chi Ke Ma Lu Pa, De Sa La Go Pa Shu, Jo Ki Ke Po Sung Ka Pa, Jo Su Nam Pa Pe Wa La, Ge Ki Sa Ma Si Wa Da, Dong Ki Ma Lu Sa Wa Shu, Da Dam Sung Ye Du Sun Dan, Dre Wa Sung Ye La Te Ni, Ge Wa Lo San Tra Pa Yi, Tam Pa Yu Re Va Yu Shi, Ni Mo De Le Sen De Le, Ni Mi Gun Yan De Le Shi, Ni Sin Ta Tu De Le Pe, Kun Chu Sung Ye Jin Yi Lo, Kun Chu Sung Ye Ngo Tru Sung, Kun Chu Sung Ye Tra Si Shu, Je Su Nam Ma Ku Se La Ting Chi, Nam Ka Tri Ni Cho Chu Ke Pa Dang, Lo Sam Tem Pe Dro Mi Sap Sung Ye, Dro Ye Mun Sa Ta Tu Ni Yu Shi, Ga Wen Ra Wei Ko Wei Shin Kam De, Pen Dan De O Ma Liu Biu Wei Ni, Che Ren Zi Wan Ten Zing Get So Yi, Sha Pe Shi De Ba Du Den Yu Shi. Hồng Tôn Bề Ngô Trụ Ma Lô Pa, Đến Đến Đa La Sel Du So, Cô Đan Đến Pa Long Chot Nam, Ki Pa So Shik Shuk Tân Sel. Thank you.